Hello everyone, it is me, Game Penguin 21, and today we are going to be looking at the good old state of play. Now, the state of play was one of those things that just kind of happened, and I didn't really even realize that it was a thing until Frit kind of live streamed it. And I'm gonna be honest, there was pretty decent arcades. Sorry, just woke up. But I'm gonna be honest. This whole thing with the state of play was actually okay. I won't say that it's gonna be the greatest thing, and it wasn't anything earth-shattering. But overall, it was fine. I mean, there was some most of the games that were there were just games that we knew kind of were already coming out. And that's fine. A lot of them did get some release dates and stuff. But I think that some of the best highlights was definitely Spider-Man 2, even though that game kind of looks like it's okay. But it definitely looks like it's been improved since the last time that we saw it. So I will at least give Sony credit for that. There was also Foam Stars, which personally, I'm actually excited for that one. I'm excited to see how that one comes out. I don't know if it's ever going to come out on other platforms. If it does, great. If not, it's not a huge deal. That's one of those games that's like, it looks cool, but I would like to see how it looks and comes out. It's just a personal preference thing. And then also there was the Final Fantasy Rebirth one, which is another interesting one that's coming out as well. That's definitely... in my personal opinion, a one to watch, because that definitely looks like it's really good. And the last one then being, I would say, Helldivers 2, because that one actually is coming out on PC and PlayStation the same day. But, of course, we have people talking about it over on the Twitter space, and this is not just whatever the fuck is happening. But if you want a full list of everything that they announced, I will probably put that up right here. Again, looking at this, they have Marvel Spider-Man, Helldivers, Final Fantasy, blah, 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 blah. And Ghost Runners 2, which I'm unsure if that's going to come out on PlayStation and anything else, but there's a list if you really want to know. But let's get into the actual games and the actual tweets here that I have pulled up. So, let's get started. Spider-Man 2 looking so good. Always feels next gen when you aren't sitting in there waiting on loading screens. Fast travel looks great. Even in the state of play, these ponies cannot get away from talking about Starfield and talking about Xbox. You are not excited for this game if you are just saying that this game is not as is quote unquote better than a game that you will never. I think the Red Dragon has played, but overall, like other ponies have not. At least I respect the Red Dragon a teeny tiny microscopic amount. Next up, we've got Hype. He says, "Look at how fast travel and seamless look at how fast travel and seamless is the fast travel in Spider-Man 2 on PS5, unlike Starfield, where it takes tons of seconds to just load different areas of the ship." No, it doesn't. It's stupid to assume that. In all honesty, the thing is that, again, it's different scopes of the game, and quite honestly, I've seen Xbox being able to do something like this, maybe. I don't remember the specific game. I don't even think it's the specific game. But at the same time, like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Like, be excited for this game. Don't just try to use it as ammunition to dunk on Xbox. Just be excited for the game. If you're excited for the game, just be excited for it. Come on, dang it. Next up, this is one that I just find very weird, and I just threw this one in here, but Hyped apparently has 2,000 followers. According to this screenshot, over 2,500, 2,700 followers. How the fuck does this man have a following? I'm so confused. That's so weird. Well, actually, no, he's following 2,700, but he has a following of over 2,000. How many of those people are actually legitimately there for him, and how many of those people are actually there just to troll him? Good question. Mr. King David here says that the showcase was actually a 4 with what is going on at Sony. In all honesty, I wouldn't say that it's a 4. I think that that's a little bit low in my personal opinion. I'd put it more at a 5 or a 6. Uh, it definitely some good stuff in there. But overall, I wouldn't say it was the greatest showcase in the world. Moving on with they are losing it. First they blamed IGM, then they blamed PlayStation, now they're blaming Metacritic. Only ones to blame are themselves by continuing to trust Phil Spencer and overhyping every single game.
Excuse me? Mr. Kettle, Mr. Pot called. He says you're black!
What? It's a turn of phrase. It has nothing to do with race.
And then they're just talking about how it's ridiculous that Metacritic sucks. You allow the best game of the generation to be trashed by review bombers biased against this game because it's an Xbox exclusive. You'll forever be remembered for that. Your soul single-handedly destroyed what a review is supposed to represent. Oh. I mean, in all honesty, that just sounds like an extremist view who overhyped the game. I mean, I agree with the Red Dragon in this context a little bit, but I would also like to say, in this context, don't trust Metacritic. Metacritic is one of those sites that's not as trustworthy as you can really call for it. Because it's not like they're trying to not do it. They've gotten rid of review bombing stuff, but at the same time, some of those reviews do seem genuine. And if I'm being honest, the 87 is kind of worth it. The 6.7, whatever, is a little bit is a little bit review bombed from what I can tell, but unsure. But overall, I think that it got appropriate scores. The 83 is still being very weird, and I think that it has something to do with the fact that some of those reviewers were actually salty, at least in that context, from what I can tell. Anyway. Next up, we've got the Spider-Man 2 state of play details. Overall, not terrible. I mean, the city is twice as large, including 2 more boroughs. And in all honesty, it looks very accurate. I did see the George Washington Bridge. Yes, I do. I have been to New York a few times, and I do like it when games set in New York actually do have landmarks and things and stuff like that. So seeing the George Washington Bridge in there is pretty awesome. I do wish to see the Brooklyn Bridge. Unsure if that's in that specific direction. I think that's the other side of the actual city. I forget specifically of my map, but I think that you can see the George Washington Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. They're on the same side. So that's interesting. But another couple boroughs is nice. Pretty cool. So J-Dub here listing off that they also had Roblox, Ghostbusters VR, RE4 VR, and DLC separate ways. Avatar, Ghost Runner 2, now PS5 Deep Earth, new PS5 Deep Earth covers, Helldivers 2, Spider-Man 2, Tales of Arise, Beyond the Dawn, Honkai Star Rail, Foam Stars, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Haters are mad today. The kings of console gaming showed out today. Are you fucking kidding me? This man just decided to simp for Roblox. This is a grown man simping for Roblox. Now, that's not to say that all the other games that he's simping for are, bad. No. I mean, Ghostbusters VR looks kind of mid, in all honesty. I mean, that's okay. Not the worst thing. RE4 VR is actually the one that I'm a little bit disappointed about. That probably won't come to PC, even though it definitely should. Seriously, please. God damn it. But DLC separate ways. I think that's coming to both the console and PC at the same time. Avatar. The Avatar game looks pretty okay. Not my cup of tea personally, but whatever. Ghost Runner 2 definitely should have come to both console and PC at the same time. It probably will, but I'm unsure. Deep Earth covers. Who the fuck cares about that? Helldivers 2. That one actually is coming to PC the same day. Spider-Man 2. Probably the only legitimate one here, but at the same time, again, still okay. Not the worst, not the best. Tales of Arise, Beyond the Dawn. okay. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I don't even remember seeing that, but that's like an anime game that you'll probably never play. Honkai Star Rail, that's a fucking mobile game. Foam Stars, again, kind of legitimate. I'm agreeing with you on that. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, again, I can see that. But where the hell is the man himself going for fucking, shit? I forget which one it is, but here's some saltiest game. There's one specific game that I'm there. Baby Steps. Where's my man simping for Baby Steps? That's the one. Anyway, moving on from saltiest gaming, then we have Reforged Gaming saying the state of play exceeded my expectations. Really? It exceeded your expectations? What the fuck? Spider-Man looks noticeably better. That's actually true. Lighting and reflections in the city looked especially strong, and the suits just pop with detail and color. Spider-Man 2 looks amazing. Well done, Insomniac Games. In all honesty, I agree. I mean, again, Spider-Man 2 was definitely one of the highlights of that, but that's not saying much. And considering that the state of play was only like 30 minutes, by the way, like that state of play was super short. It felt like it was shorter than 30 minutes. Like, I'm surprised that it was. But I when I was watching the live stream, I didn't even watch most of it live. I got there late, so I'm like, I'll watch through it. And I skipped through a bunch of it too, and I didn't feel like I missed much. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to sit through the whole thing. And it felt boring to me. So different strokes for different folks, I guess. And they said, well, that was quite a start. And then that's the Baby Steps one. Honestly, yeah, again, this is one of the weird ones that I originally thought that it was just like, why are they showing this? Why would they start with Baby Steps? And I think it's because most people wouldn't care about it and they didn't have too much confidence in it. And I thought that it sucked too, because I'm like, oh, this looks like a baby's first tutorial game. Who the fuck made this? And then I'm like, it was made by the person who did Getting Over It. So it was made by Mr. Bennett Foddy. And I'm like, oh. And in all honesty, that kind of put a lot into perspective. And I'm going to be honest, seems pretty okay. Like, solid concept of a game. I won't say that it looks the best, but in all honesty, now that I know who makes it, and now that I've set my expectations accordingly, I mean, yeah, I can understand why that kind of thing works. So he might be making fun of Sony's walking simulator stuff, maybe, unsure. But at the end of the day, I mean, come on. It's Bennett Foddy. What did you expect? I expect him to make some art type stuff. Next up, we've got... Wait, was that a real state of play Blue Team was desperately asking for? And now that's another one of those people doing that. And then next up, we've got J-Dub again with PlayStation showed they can apply as little or as much pressure as they want because nobody can fuck with them. I'm gonna be honest. Again, that gave me nothing but a limp dick. But we move on. Can ponies please ask Insomniac devs, is this the final build or not? In all honesty, like, that's a pretty weird question. But, I mean, interesting. Next up is Insomniac redefining fast travel in Marvel Spider-Man 2 PS5. Seamlessly go to anywhere on the map, not just specific markers, with the coolest and smoothest transitions of gameplay. PS5 SSD paid off big time. I don't think so. Like, that's my biggest thing with this, is the fact that I don't think that's the problem with the custom play, it's the custom SSD that's been allowing them to do that. And they always push this too. They've pushed it several times in the past, but we've shown, at least with like Ratchet and Clank, which was touted as the reason for the SSD needing to exist. Stop pushing that, because that's not the case. I 100% don't believe that it's the case of the SSD for like those quote-unquote fast load times. I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, for me, like, I can have fast load times too. I have an SSD in my computer. And if I put everything appropriately in there, I can get very fast loading, like extremely fast loading. For example, I'm currently playing through the original Half-Life, by the way. And that thing has loading screens out the butt cheeks in some context, but then again, it is like a super old game that came out in like 2003, so yeah. But the loading screens have been nothing short of like 2 to 3 seconds per game. And again, that's a super old game. That's a super old, stale example for sure. But at the end of the day, like, I can have super fast loading times too. Just saying. Then we got Spider-Man 2, Helldivers, Final Fantasy, saved the showcase, Baby Steps, WTF, was that garbage, looks like Game Pass quality, hashtag state of play. I mean, again, one of the things you got to understand is that this is actually made by, again, like I said, the Bennett Foddy. If you don't know who Bennett Foddy is, he's a pretty auteur game developer who develops more around game concepts of parody rather than actually games and things. If you remember his last game that was like really big, which was Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Again, it puts a lot more of this into perspective, so I will kind of defend that. But at the same time, yeah, it is pretty low quality, but it's more of a choice rather than anything else. And yeah, am I saying this because I do like Bennett Foddy? Absolutely. So I am being a bit biased here, I will admit that. But I'm going to be honest, again, at first it kind of looked like it was just sucky, like it was making fun of the PlayStation Showcase, which he might have done on purpose. But at the same time, like, I can understand where he's coming from. PlayStation State of Play was incredible. It was a 10 out of 10.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
No, I don't think that was good. That was not really a good one. Moving on. Don't worry, it's not the final build. I mean, okay. I could just kind of skip past. I'm sorry, but the entire opening is pure poetry. I can't believe what I'm watching. PlayStation, are you good? Hashtag state of play. Again, that whole opening was basically just the only real new game that they announced, which was Baby Steps. And again, this one's by Bennett Foddy, so I will give it some credit because it's one of those things where I know who Bennett Foddy is. I'm understandable of who Bennett Foddy is, so this makes sense. But to open with that, I think that they did it so that way people could, like, forget about it. And that's why I'm thinking that they opened with that, because, again, it's a very weird one. Another one of Baby Steps, but this one's actually, I agree with her. It's like, this is a hell of a mood, where they have him face down in the dirt. So, pretty funny. Final Fantasy Rebirth is only 3 months exclusive. Yeah, this is the interesting thing that I found while browsing through this, is that apparently it's only 3 months exclusive, where someone looked at it and said that it's not available on other formats at least until 5/29/24, which is weird because I've never actually seen them give a specific date. So it looks like they're shortening the time between the release of a PlayStation exclusive versus when they're going to release it on other platforms. Apparently. That's very apparent as to what this is, so maybe they're developing it alongside because Square Enix basically petitioned Sony for money. So they kind of do want to put this on other platforms, or maybe they did. But again, considering that they've lost about $2 billion, not necessarily from Final Fantasy per se, but there was like an article that was written about it that made it seem like it was Final Fantasy's fault. Final Fantasy did seem to underperform as far as the in-news and the development team can talk about it. So seeing this is actually quite weird that PlayStation having that is a big thing. And there was also rumors of a Final Fantasy 16 like port as well. So maybe they'll drop both of those alongside or something like that. Moving on is some of us are enjoying the Nintendo Direct and some of us enjoying the State of Play. Meanwhile, others are just complaining about Starfield. That's just a based comment. I wanted to mention that. Very based, sir. And then, of course, they have this, but they had to add some interesting context. I already talked about this a little bit, so yeah. Apparently, this article said that it was since the Final Fantasy launch, that it's actually a little bit of misleading clickbait. I mean, obviously, this is a gaming news article, so yeah, don't really need to talk too much about this. but it was mainly having to do with things like Forspoken, Phalanx, Balance, and a few other ones, like some of their previous releases that Square Enix has. Absolutely, I would say 100% that some of those releases are the reasons why that they have lost $2 billion in value. So it's not just Final Fantasy XVI's launch, but since Final Fantasy XVI did not make up for those failures in numbers, that's why they lost a lot of money. So that makes a lot of sense. And again, it fell well under that actual number portion. Then they had a real quick state of play. Again, it felt quicker than it was. It really did. I'm gonna be honest, Chief. The real quick state of play was about 30 minutes. What the fuck? It felt like it was pretty meh. It's like, this year is so bad for Sony stuff. It's like, you know, they not playing Helldivers, and we know they not playing Foam Stars. Honestly, if I owned a PlayStation, I probably would actually play Foam Stars. Like, to be very clear. I don't know why, but it's one of those games that just looks like, yeah. So, yeah, people are saying that, it was a bad one, and that it was a very bad state of play. Another one by Best of the Truth, saying that it was pretty bad. Doing the dirty with no innovation. I mean, yeah, there wasn't really anything innovative about that. I would say that the innovation that Sony has there, quote-unquote, is actually baby steps, oddly enough. But that's only, like, an innovation into, like, a satire-type game, so not particularly, but at the same time, like, again, I'm probably going to defend the game, but it's, like, very weird because I like Planet Funny. He's a really good game developer, but whatever. And then someone's comparing the Spider-Man 2 to the Starfield launch screen, and why would you compare a trailer that is specifically handpicked rather than anything else? Again, I will say, though, that the free style of travel around the city is probably a good innovation for that. Lack of loading screens is meh, and again, something that Sony is doing, but whatever. But yeah, he basically says, like, oh, there's 30 seconds in loading screens, whereas that one does not have any loading screens. And if I'm being honest, again, I would rather like to wait for the game to release before you make this comparison, but whatever. Next up, I wanted to throw this question out to everyone while I end this video of the Sony State of Play. Is it a W or is it an L? I'm going to say that it was overall, of all the things that they showed, I'd say it's neither. I'd say it's more of a tie. I say it ties with the previous State of Play that they had this year. And I am 100% certain that they only released this 30-minute State of Play to try to get the attention away from Microsoft for Starfield. Because they realized that, oh yeah, Starfield was actually pretty competent, and we don't have anything to really release until sometime later, which I'm still a little bit upset that they didn't just release a bunch of these trailers and just not have the State of Play. I would have just say, like, hold back on some of them, but I guess they couldn't hold back their load, so whatever. At the end of the day, is this State of Play a good one? In my personal opinion, I would say, nah, not particularly. Not one of Sony's strong suits in doing this, because it just didn't have anything new that they offered. Most of the games that we had here are like games that we already knew that were coming out, and this was just again to generate hype from their like most extreme fanboys and stuff like that, or at least it seemed that way. And again, PlayStation just seems desperate. It really did. Again, I'm not being mean here, or I'm trying to not be mean here, but you have to put this into perspective. They had a 30-minute conference basically saying, hey, look, we have all these games that are coming out. We have all these games that are coming out. Step up, step up. And then they open with things like, again, baby steps, which I don't think anyone on PlayStation is going to fucking play. Like, I really don't. Because they don't understand who Bennett Foddy is or what he does with games like that. It's nuts. But anyway, I think that'll about do it for this. I wanted to talk more about other stuff, but we'll get to the Harman Smith video next time. This one's more of a quickie, which is odd considering I'm recording for 20 minutes. In any case, my name is GamePenguin21. That state of play was pretty okay. If you like what it is that I do, links to everything down in the description below. And overall, yeah, I think that'll about do it. And a peace off.
You wanna get away, you better get in line.